Hey, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's 12 noon out here in the East Coast, and two of my panelists are out there on the good old West Coast. So thank you for getting up so early. I know you guys either start work at 10 or 11 out there. That's just how it is on the West Coast. We're here to talk about service advisors. And I love this topic. I so respect the position in our industry. Glad to have you all here. Of course, as you all know, the Town Academy, we're talking educational, informative, illuminating, instructive, and many times very revealing. We're coming to you live from the Remarkable Results Radio podcast studio, and let's take a look at our guests. Let's see who's. Oh, look who's here, man. Ladies first, Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily with Valley Auto Electric out in Covington, Washington.
Oh, I was gonna say that, but that's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Emily Sundstrom, service advisor. Yes, as she said, Valley Auto Electric, Covington, Washington. Emily's career in the automotive field started about 13, maybe 14 years ago. She was hired just to answer phones, and it quickly turned into something which she has a passion for. She enjoys doing it every day. Glad to have you here, Emily, as we talk service advisor. Next up is Clint White, service advisor coach. Clint's been passionately immersed in the automotive industry for over 25 years. He's an owner, service advisor coach, shop consultant with Shop Vision, and currently still holds his ASE Master Tech, Undercar Specialist, and Service Writer certifications. He was with me in episode 213, March 2021, a few months back, as we did a service advisor role play. Thanks for your support of the show, Clint. And a new voice to the podcast, Aaron Woods, Extra Mile Auto Care in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Shop owner since 2018, Aaron. Now, before opening his company, Aaron worked as a technician and a service advisor in Kansas-based dealerships and initially a wildland firefighter. That's so cool. Oh. Welcome, Aaron.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Good to have you here. All right. So we're if you're with us on social media, please do us a favor. Give us a like, check in with your city. And if you have a question for our panel, we'd love to have it and share this with your friends, because I'm sure some of them can enjoy it. Never forget, we're live Fridays at noon Eastern each and every Friday. Be a fly on the wall while you bury yourself in this discussion. And we continue to nail hot topics and trends that are making waves in our industry. And service advisor, guys, hiring a technician. Oh my God, are they out there? It's difficult. You know the story. We hear this more than not, but service advisors is just probably as hard to find that right individual. Aaron, you're a shop owner. I'm sorry. Let me just move on to thank our partners for helping us bring this show to you. Here's something to think about. How often do your advisors play phone tag? Every ring, every voicemail, it's time ticking on a stall job. Shopware's digital communication is really as easy as the customer just clicks yes. Find out more at getshopware.com. Hey, are you tired of your cookie cutter website? Is it bringing you new clients? Well, let our friends at Shop Marketing Pros create a website that is as unique as your shop is on the web at shopmarketingpros.com. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and thanks. Hey, next week's Town Hall Academy. Next week, a week from today, creating a training culture. It's going to be a great show. I've got some already some advice as to what that's going to look like. So let's go into segment A right here. Thanks again for being here, everyone. Aaron, I want to start with you. Being a shop owner, I think a great perspective coming from you. Give us one of what you feel is an important quality of a service advisor.
Well, I would have to say somebody that is driven, is goal oriented. This position requires so much of an individual in itself that being able to find that right person and hold that rock steady, I think, is somebody that has kind of their own ambitions in life, and being able to find that person that you can kind of pass that rock to and have them take it and build their own company within a company. That's something that we talk a lot about with our advisors you are essentially running your own business within a business. How would you treat your customers if this was your company? One of the things that I stress a lot to young advisors coming up and is building that relationship. And if I were to, as a shop owner, if I were to call a customer a week after the visit, would they remember that advisor's first name? And if they did, we know we're creating those memorable experiences for those customers.
I'll never forget a friend of mine, and maybe a friend of your guys, Malin Newton out there from California, said that one day he actually walked into a shop that he was a service advisor at, and now he's a coach and a trainer. And 10 years later, he walked in, and ironically, a customer came in
Remember that
while he was there, and she remembered his name.
Yep.
Great point, Aaron.
Yeah, yes, sir. And so that's, there's so many attributes to this position, but we certainly look for, are you goal oriented? Are you just that inner drive to obtain those goals, as well as that help first mentality? We are here to help first. And so many folks, I believe, focus on the sale when really the sale is simply the end result of that transaction. And so what we want to make sure that we focus on are the things that lead up to the sale. Are we establishing trust with that customer? Are we presenting the value in those services? Are we presenting the need to that customer? Educating, absolutely. And so when those things are completed, then the sale is simply the result of those steps in that transaction. So
thanks for that, Aaron. I think that this is a big takeaway. This is, if you will, a signature soundbite. Help first mentality. I love that. And then Emily, you chimed in about when he was talking about education. Think about you were hired to answer phones, and now you just love the craft that you're in. Let's talk about that customer education piece.
I know for me, part of it is taking a very uncomfortable situation, a very panicked customer. They don't know what to do. They only know that something's broken that they depend on, they rely on, and now they can't do what they need to do. And when we are able to take a step back as advisors and say, okay, I know it's going to seem like the end of the world, but we can help you. We can make it better. Here's what we can do, and here's how we're going to help you get there. And you just see them kind of let their guard down, relax, because now, like Aaron said, you're helping them. They don't know how to ask for what they need or what they want, but as soon as you can offer it to them, they feel relieved and they feel comfortable and they start building that trust. And part of building that trust is educating them in why we do what we do. Why are we recommending what we're recommending? Whether it's maintenance, whether it's repairs, whether it's, hey, I can't help you, but here's another great shop that can help you with this. It's all just building that trust and that relationship.
Where did you learn, Emily, how to read the customer? How to read the customer when you're communicating, right? We communicate all the time, but we just sometimes don't get through.
A lot of it is body language.
Okay.
Which COVID put a huge damper on because everything had to be done so impersonally. Brian and I have talked a lot about, building relationships face to face. We want to see the customer, be able to know them, know how they're acting, not just the tone of their voice. And then COVID kind of turned everything upside down. And now it's, okay, what can I pick up audibly to know how they're feeling and what they're expecting, or through an email or something like that. So it's picking up on small cues that otherwise get overlooked in I hate to say it, but in a dealership, they're get them in, get them out, rotate them through. Whereas with us as independents, we have to make them know that we care.
Look at Emily's here because she's a service advisor. Aaron did this for a living, owned a shop. He's an owner, has a different stake than Emily, yet Emily very much has an owner mentality. And Clint's here because he's a coach. So, Clint, I'm sure that you are itching to, provide us some of your guidance.
Well, absolutely. I'll always love the opportunity to pour back into our community and to give. I love what Aaron said, to the help first mentality. We all must have that, whether we are an advisor, an owner, or a coach. If you help first, the rest will follow. So I think some of the key attributes or characteristics of a good service advisor, I've drawn three of them from the shameless plug here. It's a book called The Ideal Team Player, Patrick Lencioni.
Great.
Fantastic book.
By the way, guys, it's a great book. I've read it, and it's on my books page on my website, because we've talked about this in the past. Any book we talk about goes up there in case you want to look at it or get it. But thank you for bringing that up, and let's continue.
You bet. So Patrick lays out 3 different points. Anybody that is going to be a key or ideal team player will be humble, hungry, and smart. And people that are humble, they have an absence of ego. They have an absence of arrogance. When I interview potential service advisors or service managers, I'm looking for somebody who's humbly confident. Somebody that is good at what they do and knows that they're good, but they're not going to be braggadocious or arrogant about it. I'm looking for somebody that would easily admit the mistakes that they make without self-deprecation. When I interview, I do ask the question, what's the greatest faux pas or thing that you have destroyed or broken in your career? What have you really messed up? And it's interesting to hear the reply from some individuals. They'll say, oh, I did the thing and it was so bad, and they hang their head in shame. And others say, actually, I did this, it was really bad, and I learned a lesson from it. Mm-hmm. 2 different responses, same answer. I'm looking for an individual who will readily acknowledge their weaknesses, and they acknowledge the need for improvement. Again, when I ask the questions in an interview, I'm going to ask somebody, what's the thing you're most challenged with on a day-to-day basis? And instead of, again, self-deprecation, they're looking at, this is my weak spot, but I know that I need to address it. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's willing to take on lower level tasks for the good of the team. I ask people, what's your job description where you're at right now? If we're doing a lateral transfer, these are some of the best questions you can ask. As a service advisor, what do you do now? And I have them just lay out their SOP or their job description. And I say, then what do you do outside of the bounds of that? Somebody who is humble will have a list for you, the things that they do. I like to tell people I'm one of the most highly paid broom pushers in the industry. I love to clean. I love to clean bathrooms. It's awesome. So that's the initial, the humble attribute, and the antithesis of that is an individual who lacks humility. They are experts in self-centeredness and arrogance, which is it's a deadly poison to our healthy culture.
Mm-hmm.
Emily, where did you learn to be a good listener, or how did you learn to be a good listener?
I don't always feel like I am, but thanks for the compliment. In dealing with people on a regular, consistent basis, I have to be a good listener. I have to let them know that I hear them, I understand, I feel for you, mm-hmm. and here's how we're going to, again, help you. I understand that, your car's broke down and you think that it's going to be $1 million. Well, I'm here to tell you I have good news. You're probably only going to be spending $1,000. It's not the end of the world. I can do it in 3 days instead of 5 days, or, giving them solutions and acknowledging that you understand where they're coming from, and just letting them know that you hear them.
Yeah. Empathy.
Mm-hmm. Which is something that I will say humbly, I'm terrible with empathy. I'm working on it. That
brings up a great, just to kind of plug a few books here. I'll play the Clint card. Is Brene Brown. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of her, but she was the one that kind of invented that famous TED Talk. Mm-hmm. And she wrote a book called Power of Vulnerability. And I think that's just a great interpersonal book to read. And she talks a lot about the differences between empathy and sympathy. Sympathy is when somebody's down in a hole and you're standing up top and you look down and you say, man, like that's a bad place to be. I can acknowledge that you're there. Empathy is, I'm going to get down in that hole with you, and I'm going to sit next to you, and I'm going to say, how can we together climb out of this hole? And I think an important attribute to a service advisor is being able to distinguish the difference between sympathy and empathy, because how we speak to customers, whether it be on the phone or in person, our body language how is that coming across? How is our tone of voice? There are certain cue words that we can use on the phone that establishes that empathy, and customers feel that. They don't feel sympathy. They hear sympathy, but they feel empathy. And so having the ability to go above and beyond, I think, is establishing that empathy with that customer. The second thing I wanted to also, my Clint White plug would be the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes.
Stephen Covey. I'm a great fan. And I not only did I read the book, but I also took the class. That's one of the things that Jasper, I was a sales rep for Jasper Engines. And when we first got hired, they send all their new hires through the class. And one of the things that always, there's 2, of those points that I've really just engraved into my life and my culture of my shop is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Bingo. And that is so huge when speaking with customers. The second one is sharpen the saw. That's the humble part, is always be looking to improve. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You're speaking towards interpersonal awareness. The ability to have discernment and common sense is that the third point, the smart, humble, hungry, smart. And empathy is a key point in that. Intuition when interacting with others. Read the room. When you talk to somebody and they don't have that social awareness, that they're socially awkward, they just don't get it when they should have shut up, but they didn't.
Yep.
Those are the people that we don't want interacting with our very, very valuable customers. We're looking for people that have that interpersonal awareness.
It's funny that you key in on the humble, hungry, smart. We actually started with that and started doing our peer reviews for our whole organization last September or October. And that's how we have started grading each other, is the humble, hungry, smart. Because it is so important.
Yeah, it's a vital. I use it outside of even the bounds of my coaching. It's something that can be used throughout relationship development and beyond. They are intrinsic traits that we should be emulating as human beings. If you don't find yourself, if you do a self-evaluation, you don't find yourself to be humble, hungry, and smart, it's time to seek help, and it's time to seek training. And that's part of that hungry attribute is what are you doing to improve yourself? What are you doing to improve yourself off the clock? Do you only go to mandatory training, or is this something you've taken a sense of pride and ownership in, and you read books and you listen to podcasts and TED Talks and you eat, sleep, and breathe this profession? Again, that's a hungry individual.
Absolutely.
A service advisor should always want to grow, always want to be better with their customers, better for their customers, better for their company, better for their employees at any level. And that's something that I really consciously strive to do and work on, is making sure that I can do all of that. And if I can't, where do I need to ask for help at? Who do I need to ask for help? Do I need more employees, or do I just need to manage them more effectively and efficiently?
Hey, some great stuff, everyone. I'd love to get ready to come back and do segment B, but I am blown away by this incredible dialogue, off the chart stuff. Thank you so much. Hey, let's face it, technicians are your inventory of time. It's the only inventory that expires every minute of every day. Maximize sales and speed to get the cars moving through your business faster. Everybody wants that. Learn more at getshopware.com. And does your social media truly represent your shop, or is it just plain vanilla generic posts? It doesn't have to be that way. The experts at Shop Marketing Pros listen and create social content that connects you to your community on the web at shopmarketingpros.com. Okay, we're back here for segment B. Emily, you got to know a lot about that vehicle. Do you attend technical training? And let's talk a little bit about the interaction between the service advisor and the technicians.
Ask a lot of questions, a lot of questions. I think that's how I went from just answering the phones to being successful at what I do. Is I don't care how annoyed my technicians get. I need to be able to know what I'm selling and why.
Yeah.
Why am I educating my customers with this information? Why am I recommending it? And how can I relate it to real life for them? They don't all understand cars. But if I can compare it to their body or a washing machine or something like that, customers pick it up and they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. So being able to take something that is not yes, they drive their car every day, but they generally put gas in it and put miles on it. They don't know the internals of it. If I understand both sides and speak both languages, then I can correlate it, put it together, and present the information as something they can understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I really speak towards educating your customers at a level 2. Level 2 sales. We all think and comprehend. Those of us have been in the industry for a long time, and like Carm said, I'm still an ASE master tech. For why? Just so I can say it. I don't actually work on cars, but my brain works at a 9 or a 10. I do comprehend them very, very well. But when I speak to the customer, I have to be able to be like a pressure regulator. There's a flood and a torrent of information behind me, whether it's my head or the service advisor or the technician's head. I am that pressure regulator that brings it down to a very even, common knowledge trickle to the customer that they understand, know, like, trust, and buy at a level 2. And you hit it on the head, Emily. Great job.
Yeah, I had, a customer that didn't understand why he couldn't only put one tire on his car. Well, only one of them's worn. Well, what would happen if your wife wore a high heel and a ballet flat? Is that going to work very well for her?
I love that.
It's the easiest analogy to give them is something they see every day. But, like my diag tech does not think like that. I have to take his technical information and make it a reality or a language that the customer speaks.
Absolutely.
You mean customers don't understand 5-volt reference potentiometers?
It's just mode 6, sir. It's just mode 6. Don't you know what mode 6 is?
I go to him half the time. I'm like, I don't even understand this, but it sounds really good. Now I need you to break it down for me so I can explain it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think that also falls into kind of when we're talking, Carm asked me a couple of my initial thoughts and, making sure that we're demonstrating the need for the service.
Yes. And
how do you demonstrate the need for the service is by giving it to that customer in a language that they can understand.
Yeah.
They first have to be able to establish trust in you. They have to be able to, you have to be able to establish the need for the service and then the benefit from the service.
Yep. And
establishing that need is level 2.
Yeah.
We try to sell at level 5 and it just goes right over their heads. So it's a very great point.
I actually use a 4 W's approach. Anytime a service advisor presents a potential repair, whether it's a fluid or a part, it doesn't matter. We have to be able to, in layman's terms, at level 2, say what it is. It's got to have a name. It's a professional name. What it does, I have to be able to describe at a level 2 what it does in a very simplistic form. What is currently happening to the vehicle with this component or fluid in the condition it's in, and then what will happen left neglected. If you can follow all 4 of those, you can efficiently, effectively, and powerfully communicate to your customer the needs on their vehicle. And I love the fact you said needs, Aaron. That is a power word right there.
And
Failed in needs.
Yep.
Goes back to being people smart, knowing your audience, knowing how to explain it to which customer, whether you have a driver or you have a mom that's just worried about the safety of her kids. You have to be able to read that from your customer and be smart about the people you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Hey, I have a quick question about DVI and the role of the service advisor. Has it changed the role or the capabilities, capacity of the
Uh,
service advisor? Is it, oh my God, look at this is kind of a new wrench, or has it really helped blossom that position?
Uh,
it's
Go
oh,
ahead,
go
Amy.
ahead. I think it's it's brought it into a new way to present it, but it doesn't take the human interaction out of it, and you still have to provide the customer the feeling that of the need of the service. I mean,
Mhm.
we can share a photo of a leak, but a photo of a leak is just a photo of a leak without somebody behind it explaining, like Clint said, what it is, what it does, what's going to happen if it's not addressed. And so
Yeah.
I think it's just another tool that we use nowadays that maybe wasn't available to this industry 5-10 years ago. But it's not it's a tool, it's not the tool.
Okay.
We don't rely upon DVIs to sell the product. We rely on DVIs to help us present to the customer, but there's still a level of need from the service advisor to be able to use those metaphors and analogies and provide the value and the need for those services.
I think that one of the things that DVI does that we need to be very, very aware of is that it holds us accountable as an industry. If your inspection is done well and you do take pictures of the good stuff and the bad stuff, and it's very well documented, whether the customer understands it initially or not, it keeps us above board. There was nothing we neglected, nothing that we left covered with the shroud of secrecy. We bared all to the customer's transparency. Now,
Helps build trust.
it does build trust. Exactly. That's the hardest thing for us to earn and the easiest thing for us to lose as advisors is the trust of the customer. So to have that substantiating evidence in pictorial form, why would you not? Now, the neat thing is, and I've been doing DVIs for good grief, 5-6 years now. There is a subset of your customers that are educated enough to understand what they see, and we experienced the Amazon effect. And it was somebody on a Carm show that I heard coin this. The Amazon effect is simply this: you look at a picture, go, "Yep, I need it. Click, buy it now." And so there is going to be a subset of your customers who receive the DVI, view it top to bottom, and call you and go, "How much to get rid of the reds and the yellows? I don't need to talk about the details. I trust you." The other ones, you do need to flex your sales muscle. Of course, you've got to still be able to go through the process. So I'm a huge, huge advocate for the DVI.
I love the DVIs.
It also keeps you in your seat as a service advisor. You don't have to go out 20 times to go check the measurement on this and go look at the birthday sticker of the car and what size tire and so forth. It allows you to do your job more effectively, which means that you're delivering a greater customer experience because you're present where you need to be.
Why
It
do you
builds
love
value.
it so much?
It builds value for what we do and what we're charging. You know, a lot of people don't see value in what we do. And we get all the time, well, I wish I made X amount an hour. Well, there's none of us that are making what our hourly labor rate is, right? That's it. It just doesn't work that way. But if I have the pictures, if I have the proof, I guess you can say,
That's what it is.
then it's building that value that here's why we are as good as we are. Here's why you're coming to us. Here's why you were recommended to us by Jack down the street, is because we take the time to get all of this put together and present it to you so that you know what you see is what you get and this is what we're about.
And Emily, you sell with confidence because of that.
Absolutely.
You know beyond a shadow of a doubt when you sell a component or a fluid, you're going to sleep well tonight because you saw that was no good and it needed to be done. And that's one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of shop owners are still. It boggles my mind in the year 2021 with the technology that we have. Why have we not gone over the hump yet, guys? With a paper inspection, if I check the box really hard and I scribble really, really hard on, say, transmission fluid, and how dirty is it? And customers will ask you that, Emily, is that correct? How bad is it? Well, when you look at a piece of paper and say, well, the technician, he scribbled that check mark really hard, so it must be really bad. we don't do that, and that it puts you in a compromising situation where you violate ethics, where in the heat of the moment of the sale, you go, oh, it's really, really bad, Mr. Customer. You've not seen it, and therefore you are not telling the truth.
But
That's
you should
why
trust
DPI.
me. But you should just trust that because I made that mark really hard,
You should.
it's really bad.
Put the X, the circle,
Right.
the
So
check mark.
we actually had a customer come in last week that didn't disclose that he had just purchased the vehicle that he brought to us, but wanted a comprehensive inspection on it because he wanted to make sure that everything was okay. They're getting ready to tow a trailer with it, you know, all these things. Well, we can tell by license plates when somebody buys a vehicle too. So a lot of customers don't know that. But we sent the report to him, and first person I've ever had tell me that our DVI is too vague.
Wow.
I said, okay, I'm going to need you to elaborate on that a little bit because I've never heard that. Well, he came in and he had an over hour long conversation with me in the office about each item on it. And it ended with, well, the guy that I just bought it from said that he had these fluids done and he had these services. I said, okay, well, Carfax doesn't document that. So we tried to check that. We don't have that information. Do you have a receipt or an invoice from the shop that it was done at? Well, no, they still use paper invoices, so they couldn't give that to me. I was blown away that somebody still is doing paper invoices, but he had more trust in that paper invoice and what the person was telling him that he just bought it from than the pictures and the evidence or the presentation that we had digitally that showed him comparison and contrasts of things.
Well, look at everyone. We know the professionalism of our industry needs to go up a level or two. And, you know, from the first person we have an interaction with, we take their word as the rule of law. And then you come by a completely different shop, very professional with a lot of great tools. And now I have to make a determination. Who do I believe?
Right.
And that's way it's something we have to deal with all the time by people saying we did that, you're okay, you're done. And in the real world, we find out that it needs to be done. So I love the story, but it's another reason why maybe you learned something from it. Maybe you figured out that you have to come up with some greater detail or another step along the way. I don't know. You know, again, that whole fluid thing where litmus papers and or colors, you know, the BG thing, all of that is just 100% trusting and honest. And it's just the right way to do it.
Absolutely, Carm, you're right.
Hey, look at everyone. I would love to challenge the think here. I love this so far, but you know, I've done shows where this is, I've held on to a technician too long, and you know, it really hurt us in the culture. Have we ever? And Emily, you may not be able to weigh in, but maybe you could or can. But do we hold on to service advisors too long, and it's really hurting our business?
I was waiting for that. Not only can I put two hands up, but if I could put both feet up too, that would be absolutely. And you know, our service advisors is such an important role that you are the face of the company.
You are.
And customers, they trust us for the safety and the reliability of their vehicle. And so we are tasked with an important role. And when the wrong person is in that position or that seat, it could be detrimental to the company. And I don't know about, you know, exact numbers, but I think I heard at one point in time that one unhappy customer can lose 10,000 in sales a year.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's I think somebody made a point earlier. It's you know, the hardest thing to gain is trust, and the easiest thing to lose is trust. And so having that wrong person in that seat can, you know, not only can unsafe vehicles leave the shop, but technicians that rely upon the service advisors to do their jobs in order for them to be able to work on vehicles. And so it's really, there's so much that revolves around that service advisor role that one wrong apple, and I'm sure Clint can maybe even elaborate more on this, but you can't get rid of that person fast enough.
Yeah.
And whenever you sit there and whenever you see the problems, whether it be bad reviews or drops in numbers, you're reacting at that point. And so that's what's happening a week or 2 weeks down the road. And by that point, you're behind the curve.
Yeah.
And so you have to be proactive and not reactive to those types of situations. And so that's something that I recently faced. I had a service advisor that was working here that Clint and I had some conversations about, and it was about a month later, about a month into it, I called Clint and I said, "Do I have the right guy?" And I think if you're even asking if you have the right guy, you don't have the right guy. And so if there's anything that a shop owner or a service manager, anybody out there is listening to this podcast can take is, if you don't think you have the right guy, you don't have the right guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll elaborate on that. One of the most powerful things you can do as a shop owner is to have somebody besides you, because you have jaded eyes, somebody besides you critiquing and evaluating your advisors, your sales staff on a weekly basis, holding them accountable to sales numbers, holding them accountable to the way that they speak on the phone, holding them accountable to the reviews, whether good or bad, that they generate. Without that accountability factor, you're out in the weeds. And we as shop owners, we're so desperate right now in this quote shortage of service
labor
advisors.
market.
Yeah, the labor market. We're desperate to hang on to what we have because we think I have a big mirror. I just need somebody to fog it. And I think that's a terrible, terrible approach, because at the end of the day, when we peel back the onion of relationships and customer happiness and experience and all that stuff, let's get down to the nucleus of why are we here. This is a business. And very rarely do I speak to just plain old money, but we're here to generate a profit and pay for, finance the households and the schooling and the health and the food and everything else of all of your employees. You are literally providing for a herd of individuals, including yourself as an owner. And the one person who has the most influence over that is destroying it at the counter. You have to guard that position voraciously.
Okay, gang, let's hold that thought. Okay, because I love it. We're going to come back for segment C. I want to just take a time out here to talk about our partners. Now, is your how much paper have you touched today? Those are piles of time stacked all over the shop. And think of what you could do with that time and how many more cars you could get through the door. Cha-ching. It's time for a digital shop management system. Go on the web. Tell them Carm sent you at getshopware.com. Is your marketing company sharing the same vanilla social media posts for you that they do for every other shop? Well, that's not how Shop Marketing Pros does business. They believe each shop is unique with its own story. Contact them today at shopmarketingpros.com. Okay, so you're on fire. This has been incredible. And as I always sit back and take all kinds of notes, one of a word I just wrote down, everyone, was the word apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that, in fact, I've been on my soapbox a lot about apprenticing at the technician level and how important that is. And Emily, you kind of remind me, they hired me to answer phones. And so maybe you didn't know this, and maybe we need to stop and think about, should we have an apprentice program for service advisors? How do we develop it? Either, again, get an ASE certification out of it. But where are we finding? Where can we go out if tomorrow, Aaron, you needed to find someone and you were looking for someone with some legacy, some time at the counter, and you couldn't? Where should we be looking? And again, Clint, as you said earlier, we're looking for humble, hungry, and smart.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk a little bit about developing an SA.
Yeah, and so that's actually a great question, and something that I have been doing actively as we are growing and looking for more advisors. One of the places that I started looking at was professional groups. there's they here in Oklahoma we have a deal called Young Professionals or YPS, and so that's different industries put together of these young professionals, that go to these events and things like that. Just kind of that interconnectability. If I had to put a thumb or a finger on a certain industry to look at, any type of customer service based sales type of atmosphere. I interviewed somebody that I thought was really well that worked for the Geek Squad at Best Buy, and at the same time, it's sometimes it's hard to put a pulse on exactly where you should look, because I don't ever want to limit somebody in a box of this is where you need to look. This is the things that you have to see on a resume, because that's not always an end all be all. But I certainly had a lot of leads going into the chambers atmosphere, the YPS atmosphere, and some of those leadership. There's a deal called Leadership Stillwater, and where a lot of those attributes that we look for are residing in. So
I think hospitality. Yeah. If you start looking in the hospitality industry, they're there to serve. They are there to ensure that you have the best possible experience at there, whether it's a hotel, a restaurant, Starbucks, anything like that. That's their main goal. That's what they're hired to do, is make sure that you leave with a smile. You might come in unhappy, you leave with a smile, and you leave feeling like you've been taken care of. So I think customer service and hospitality are the two biggest places to look for somebody in that.
Surprisingly, I'll speak to the antithesis of that. Is we sometimes look within. We've got our lead tech or somebody in the shop that we think that we can make them shave and put them on the front counter. They'll be okay. And in my experience, it is a very rare thing to find what I'll call a unicorn. That's somebody who's been in the industry, that wasn't a service advisor, usually was a technician, and they've been converted into a service advisor that can sell and sell well and sell ethically, and not suffer from the curse of knowledge where they diagnose over the phone because they just know what's wrong. It's very rare to bring someone from within. So Emily, I concur with you as well, that going to the service industries, going to where people take care of, love on, and are empathetic with people in need. That's where we need to focus.
All right. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Emily.
I think you can teach sales to somebody. You can't teach people to people.
That's very true.
People are either good with people or they're not. And so if you start with that base, let's say you go stay at the DoubleTree for ATE, and you have a rep from the DoubleTree that is great. They have met every need. They've asked you. They've been attentive. All of that. I might leave my card on the table at the restaurant.
Absolutely.
Who knows? They might have a car question. They might have a "Are you hiring?" question. Who knows?
I had a service advisor one time that I asked him, and he said, "I just don't like dealing with people." I'm like, that's not much I can do for you there.
At least he was honest.
Yeah. We've heard these stories over and over again. The technicians talk car, not people.
Technicians.
And it's to a point. Anyway, this was great. I want to put a bow on it. I want to give each of you a 2-minute last, if you will, word summary, anything that was in your talking points that maybe we missed, or help summarize all this great education that we've done here today on the Town Hall Academy. Aaron Woods, I'll go to you first from Extra Mile Auto Care, Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think I was doing an interview just a couple of weeks ago, and I asked that gentleman, I said, what business are we in? And he looked at me kind of puzzled, and he says, "Well, you're in the auto repair business." I said, "That's incorrect." I said, "We are in the helping people business. Auto repair is just the means in which we provide the help for people.
Yep.
And if you get somebody, whether it be a technician, a service advisor, answering the phones, whatever position that might be, if you find somebody that grasps that greater concept, that's your person.
Mhm.
Great summary. Thank you. Emily Sundstrom, Service Advisor, Valley Auto Electric, Covington, Washington. Final word?
I agree with Aaron. We're in the business of helping people. We have a picture of what we call the win wheel out in the shop that is internal customer, external customer, the business, and the vendor. If everything that we do is helping each one of those, the wheel will spin right. If not, then we have a flat tire and we have to fix it. And as long as everybody's taken care of and it's a win for everybody, then like Aaron said, the byproduct of that is we are fixing cars. Otherwise, we're here to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Great summary. Thank you so much. And Clint White, Service Advisor Coach, and who's getting ready to buzz out and on vacation. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Your final word.
So the one key attribute that I would encourage everybody watching and listening to focus on is somebody that is self-aware. Somebody that is self-aware of where they've been in life, the wins, the losses, the challenges, the needs, where you've been, where they are. They've got to be aware of where they are right now and where they need to go, as well as where they want to be. When you're self-aware and you're goal-oriented, you will succeed in this industry.
Wow, what a great summary. Hey, thank you all so much. Enjoy this great summer weekend that we all have. And let me see. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel.
Thanks, Carm. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.